let me share you the class code for this subject so that you can download the material from the same, right? So this is the class code for the TOEFL subject. So now in the last session we have gone through uh, what is theory of computation. Now in this session we'll discuss about what is a formal language, and we'll start the chapter 1 of the book, and that is uh, mathematical basics also in this session. So I'm sharing the screen with you. First we'll define the term what is a formal language. So that was the last topic. We have discussed theory of computation. We have discussed about finite automata, push-down automata, Turing machine, right? So now we'll discuss the another important term. I hope you are able to see the slides. Now, yes, can you see the slides? Okay, so basically, in case of a formal language, it is a restricted language with limited features in terms of input alphabet, operations, and memory. So normally when we consider our English language, so in English language our input alphabet is very large, right? We have special symbols, numbers, we have A to Z, small letters, we have A to Z capital letters, right? And in our subject, to understand the finite automata or any automata, we are using a formal language which has a very limited input alphabet. We have limited operations permitted on that particular language, and in some cases we have a very limited memory with us. So now when we consider this, we have 4 different formal languages which we have to learn in this subject. A regular language for which there is a machine which is known as a finite automata. Another input language which is known as a context-free language for which the machine is known as a push-down automata. The third language which is known to us is known as a context-sensitive language for which we have a machine, a linear bounded automata. And the fourth language which we have is the phase structure language for which the machine is known as a Turing machine. These are the 4 different formal languages we have to learn in this subject. So now when we consider this a language, so we know that language is nothing but a set of strings, and string is nothing but a sequence of letters. So you can say if we consider the English alphabet 26 letters, then the various combination of this alphabet will make a string or a word of the language. Here you can see some examples. By doing a concatenation of C, A and T, we are getting the word as cat. Similarly, by doing a concatenation of D, O and G, we are getting the word as dog, which is nothing but a string. So a varied language is what? It is a set of strings, and along with that set of strings, we have a grammar which will validate the statement, which will also validate the statement. Right? So that is how we are getting the entire language. So with a set of input alphabet, we are getting the strings, and from the strings, using the grammar, we are making a statement. A group of statements will make a paragraph, and then you are getting the complete document. So now here in case of formal language, in entire subject, we'll take a very small alphabet. So our input alphabet will denote as a symbol sigma, and which is equal to A comma B. We have only 2 elements as input. The reason is because when I combine A with B, you will get a string as AB. When I combine B with A, you will get another pattern as BA, which is of length 2. Similarly, when I combine A with A, I will get third pattern of length 2 as AA. And similarly, when I combine B with B, I will get the fourth pattern as BB. So we are getting 4 different combinations of length 2. So always you can see that you are getting a combination of either AB or BB or BA or AB. So we have four possible combinations of length to AB, AA, BA and BB only. So because these are the only four combinations, it is very easy to check the automata because we don't have to worry about the other combinations. If you consider the input alphabet as A to Z, then we have various combinations: A with A, then A with B, A with C, A with D, up to A with Z for length 2. Similarly, we have to check B with A, B with B, B with C, and B with Z. So again 26 different combinations. So 26 into 26, that many different combinations of length 2 will be generated, which is a cumbersome task to validate the thing. So that's why we are using only input alphabet as length 2. Only two input symbols A and B. Right? I hope it is clear. So that's why the formal language is having a very limited input alphabet, and we are only doing a limited operations of set theory like union, intersection, concatenation. And so we have a very limited operations also with us to achieve the goal. So now our next goal is we have to understand some mathematical preliminaries which is required to understand the whole subject, which includes set theory, logic, that is truth table, true and false, functions and relations, and mathematical induction for the purpose of understanding the proof which are given in the book. So now I am sharing the another slide with you, and we'll start with the first topic, that is a set theory. I hope you have joined the classroom also, and also you can share the class code with others so that others can also join this, and you will get the material of my portion in this. I have already shared the class code for this class. So now let us see that what kind of exercises we have to solve. So this is a very good topic which will tell you the power of this subject, theory of automata and formal language. So let us first understand the basic maths. Even though you know very well this topic, we need to understand this one more time with a different perspective. Okay, the class code is already written in the chat window. Still, let me paste it again. Right? So now let's start with the first concept of maths, which is very simple as we know very well. But let us see that how it is difficult when we solve the exercises of this topic. So basically, in case of a set, we have various ways to represent the set. The point behind the first slide is that. So either I can represent the set in the form of direct numbers like 0, 1, 2, 3. Also, I can represent the numbers from the negative numbers, 0, and positive numbers, as you can see in the set, minus 10, minus 9, minus 8, then 0, and we have 8, 9, 10. So you can represent the set as a set of numbers if it is a finite set. If it is a finite set. Now, if you consider the set D, the second one, again it is a finite set from the Z, right? But we are specifying in the form of a range. Instead of giving the each and every number, we are specifying in the form of a range. So we are writing minus 10 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 10. So all the numbers including minus 10 and 10, right, which belongs to set Z, right, that are part of this set. So this is another way to represent the set. But one more example here is x, I and j greater than or equal to 0. X is equal to 3i plus 4j, 3i plus 7j. So here you can see when I put 0 for I and j, we are getting a number x as 0. When I take I equal to 1 and j equal to 0, we'll get x is equal to 3. When I take I is equal to 0 and j equal to 1, we'll get the number as 7. When I take both I and j as 1, we'll get the number as 10. So that's how you can generate the different elements of the set E. So we can represent the set in the form of an equation also. So these are the three common ways to represent the set. Either you specify the direct numbers, you specify the range, you specify the mathematical equation, and you can represent the elements of the set. And also the set can be infinite, or set can be having a finite number of elements in it. We are representing the universal set as U. We'll represent the empty set as 5. To represent the complement of a set, we are writing A dash. So A dash will be defined as X belongs to U, X is in the universal set, and X does not belongs to A if it is a complement of the set. This is the very basic thing you know very well since your school, but we have to revise very quickly. Then we have a Venn diagram to represent the set. So here you can see in a universal set I have considered 8 numbers. We have A having 2 numbers, 1 and 2. So we can represent using a Venn diagram set A and the universal set. Now A union B is defined as X belongs to A or X belongs to B. So you can see in the picture that elements of A or elements in B will be a part of A union B. Similarly, A intersection B is X belongs to A and X belongs to B. So it must be a part of both the sets. X belongs to A and it must be a part of set B also. The next one is a set difference. The set difference is represented as A minus B. X belongs to A and X does not belong to B. If it is a part of set A and if it is not a part of set B. So exclusive elements, we can say exclusive elements of set A is in A minus B. So these are the well-known things. We have various laws of set theory, De Morgan's laws, we can say. So A union B is equal to B union A, which is a commutative property. Similar to that, we have associative property, A union B union C. So here we have a union of B and C first, and then we have a union with A. So we can write as union of A and B, A union B, and then finally we'll get a union with set C. It is known as associative property. Similarly, we have a distributive property or distributive law, A intersection with B union C. So it is written as A intersection B having union with A intersection C. So that is known as a distributive law. Similarly, you know that idempotent property, that if you perform union of set with itself, A union A, that will give you A. Similarly, if you perform intersection of set with itself, it will give you again A. A intersection A is also A. Now, one more property here we have, absorptive property. First you find the intersection of A with B, so A intersection B, and when you perform a union of this A intersection B with set A, you will get A itself. It is obvious because A intersection B is a part of A anyway. So union with A will give you A. Similarly, if you have A union B and if you do an intersection with the set A, then again it is the intersection. So finally we'll get the set A. So it is known as absorptive property. Other interesting properties, that we are representing the complement of a set as A dash. So now complement of A dash will be set A again. A intersection with A dash will be empty set. A union A dash will be the universal set. A union empty set will be A. A intersection with empty set will be empty. A intersection with universal set will be A. Now we have a symmetric difference. So symmetric difference of two sets A and B is defined as A minus B union B minus A. It is a set difference. Union of two set differences. A minus B and B minus A. So A minus B is a set difference and B minus A is also a set difference. Now if we have more than two sets, if we have a more than two sets, so in that case, right, we will represent the union of all the sets as it is a capital U, I is equal to 1 to n, A of I, so it is a union of all the sets. We'll write as X, where X belongs to AI for at least one I. That element X must belongs to any one set. It can be a part of either A1 or A2 or AN. So X belongs to AI for at least one I with 1 less than or equal to I less than or equal to n. So we'll represent as capital U, I is equal to 1 to n, A of I, union of all the sets. Similar to that, we can write as intersection of all the sets. So we'll write as I is equal to 1 to n, A of I, which is equal to X, where X belongs to AI for every I in the range 1 less than or equal to I less than or equal to n. So for the intersection, if X is a part of the intersection, then X must belong to every set. It must be a part of A1, it must be a part of A2, similarly it must be a part of AN. Then we'll represent as, we are using the intersection sign, I is equal to 1 to n, A of I, for the intersection of all the sets. Now power set of a set. So when we'll define the set A is equal to 1, 2, only two elements, then power set is defined as 2 raised to A, which is equal to 5, 1, 2 and 1 comma 2. So this is a power set of the set. All the subsets of the given set is known as the power set. All the subsets of a given set is known as the power set. So 5 is a subset of the set, 1 and 2 individual sets are also subset of set A, and set itself is a subset of it. So we have 4 elements in the power set. Next is the cardinality of a set. So cardinality is what? The number of elements in the set. So if A is equal to 1, 2, 3, if A is equal to 1, 2, 3, then cardinality of a set is the number of elements in the set. So we'll write as 3. Next is Cartesian product of two sets. The Cartesian product of two sets is defined as, it is an ordered pair. Ordering is important. So A having two elements, A and B, set B having two elements, C and D. So when you consider the Cartesian product of two sets, we have A and C, that is one ordered pair, then A and D, then B and C. So we'll take the first element from the set A and we'll take the second element of the ordered pair from the set B. So A with C, A with D, B with C and B with D. So we are getting A cross B, which is the Cartesian product of two sets as 4 different elements. So these are the very basic things about the set. Now let us see the power of this subject. Right? So let us understand the first exercise, how to do this thing. So now here you can see that we have this. Right. Exercise 1.1. We have to represent this set. So here the set is given in the form of elements. Now instead of writing the elements of the set, we have to express this set with the form of some equation. Right? Instead of specifying all the elements of the infinite set, right, we have to specify in the form of equation. So if you observe the patterns, you will observe certain things, that 0, 2, 4, 6, all the numbers, 0 and even numbers, 0 and even numbers, 2, 4, 6, they are all positive here, and odd numbers, -1, -3, -5, all the odd numbers are negative over here, right? So to represent this set, what we'll write is the main thing you have to understand, that how you solve the different exercises. To represent as, that is minus 1 raised to n into n, where n belongs to capital N and it is a set of positive integers including 0. So when we write this capital N, so it is a Greek letter. Here we are using a Greek symbol for that, and it includes 0 as well. So it is not a set of natural numbers, because natural number does not include 0. We can say this is indicating a set of whole numbers, right? This is indicating a set of whole numbers, right? So minus 1 raised to n into n. So now when I take n equal to 0, 0 multiplied with any number will be 0, so we'll get the first element of the set. Now when I take n equal to 1, so minus 1 raised to 1, that will give you minus 1 into 1, so you'll get a minus 1. Then when you take n equal to 2, so minus 1 square, so that will give you 1 into 2, because n is 2, so you'll get 2, which is a positive number. Similarly, when you will take n equal to 3, then minus 1 raised to 3, which will give you minus 1, which is multiplied with 3, so you'll get the number as minus 3. That is how you will get all the elements of this infinite set, starting with 0. So is the first example clear? So this is how you will understand that even though we know set theory very well, it is not easy to represent the set in the form of equation. Is the first example clear? Right, this is from your exercise. We are taking very interesting exercises, right? So we will get a different practice, that we are representing the infinite set in the form of a mathematical equation. Okay, so let us proceed further. Let us take the second example. You can see the second example here. It is 1 upon 2 into 1 upon 4, 3 upon 4, 1 upon 8, 3 upon 8, 5 upon 8, 7 upon 8. So again it is an infinite set, and we want to represent this infinite set. So now if you observe the denominator over here, it is 2, 4, 8, right? So it is always a power of 2. So 2 raised to 1, 2 raised to 2, 2 raised to 3, like that. So that's why in the answer we are writing 2 raised to n. We are writing 2 raised to n as the denominator, where n is greater than 0. So it will start with 1. 2 raised to 1, 2 raised to 2, 2 raised to 3. So we get all the denominators. Now if you observe the numerator part, then you can see it is 1 upon 2. So numerator is lesser than the denominator. Always you can see numerator is always lesser than the denominator. Similarly, the pattern is there 1 upon 4, 3 upon 4. So always numerator is lesser than the denominator. That's why we are writing 0 is less than m less than 2 raised to n. You can see that numerator is less than a denominator at that point of time. So 0 is less than m less than 2 raised to n. So now you need to check that when n equal to 1, when n is equal to 1, m will be only one value is possible for m, because when n is 1, it is 2 raised to 1, 2. So equation will be 0 is less than m less than 2. 0 is less than m less than 2. So m will be only 1. So you will get the first term 1 upon 2. It is clear? You will get the first term as 1 upon 2. Now when you take n equal to 2, right? When you take n equal to 2, right? At that time, the possible values for m will be 0 is less than m less than 4. 0 is less than m less than 4. So m will be either 1, 2 or 3. So when I am taking m equal to 1, so we will get the term as 1 upon 4, because n is 2. So 1 upon 4. Now the second term we are also getting, which is not directly visible here. the second term, which is not directly visible over here, 2 upon 4, because if you consider 2 upon 4, then its equivalent fraction will be 1 upon 2. If you take 2 upon 4, then its equivalent fraction will be 1 upon 2. So that 1 upon 2 is also present in the set. And the third term is 3 upon 4. The third term is 3 upon 4. Similarly, if you consider n equal to 3, if you take n equal to 3, you will get the terms as 1 upon 8. The 1 upon 8 is there in the list. The second term is 2 upon 8. So the 2 upon 8 is equivalent fraction is 1 upon 4. Then 3 upon 8, which is present in the list. 4 upon 8. So again, its equivalent fraction is 1 upon 2, which is present in the list. 5 upon 8. 6 upon 8, its equivalent fraction is 3 upon 4. So we are also getting 3 upon 4 in the set. And last is a 7 upon 8. So that is also present in the list. So you can see that we have checked for 3 different values of n. We have checked for 3 different values of n. And from that we have represented the set. So any query in this second example? Is the second example clear? How we are representing the infinite set in the form of equation? Yes, any query in this? Yes, can we proceed further? Okay, so let us go through the next example. So our goal is we want to represent the different infinite sets. Right? So now we have the third example. Now here we have the pattern, which is again an infinite set. 1 0, then 1 1 0 0, 1 1 1 0. So you can see that here I am writing when n is 1, right? We have one occurrence of 1 and one occurrence of 0 present with me. When n is equal to 2, I have 2 occurrences of 1 and I have 2 occurrences of 0. So here when I am writing 1 raised to n, so that 1 raised to n indicates n occurrences of 1. And after that, we have n occurrences of symbol 0. So here it is not maths that 1 raised to n will give you 1 and 0 raised to n will give you 0, right? So here it is indicating number of occurrences of the 1 and 0. So when n is 1, we are getting 1, 0 raised to 1, so 0. When n is 2, we have 2 occurrences of 1 and we have 2 occurrences of 0 after it. Similarly, when n is equal to 3, we have 3 occurrences of 1 and after that we have 3 occurrences of 0. So when I write this infinite set, we'll write as 1 raised to n, 0 raised to n, where n is greater than 0. Where n is greater than 0. So I think you can understand this. It is a very simple representation. Okay, now we have another example here. We have set within set. Now you can see here. We have a set which contains itself a set of elements. A set contains set. So it is a nested set. 0, then 0, 1, 0, 1, 2, right? Then 0, 1, 2, 3. So set contains infinite set within it. The set contains infinite set within it. So now to represent this, we'll write as so you can see that we have inner set and the outer set. So this inner set J, 0 is less than or equal to J less than or equal to n, and J belongs to n. So it is showing the number of elements of the inner set. It is generating the number of elements in the inner set. So it is from 0 to n. Why we are writing 0 to n here? Because in every set you can see it starts with 0, 0, then 0, 1, then 0, 1, 2, then 0, 1, 2, 3. So it is representing the inner set starting with 0. 0 less than or equal to j less than or equal to n. N is the limit. n is the limit of the inner set. So now that n depends on what? So n depends on the outer set position. The n depends on, small n depends on outer set position. So when I will take n belongs to n, the set of whole numbers, then first element will be 0 only. As I told previously, that here n represents a set of whole numbers. So when I take n equal to 0, that means we have only one element present in the first position. So when small n becomes 0, the range for j will be 0 less than or equal to j less than or equal to 0. You will get 0. Similarly, when you take n equal to 1 for the outer set, then the range for j will be 0 less than or equal to j less than or equal to 1. So we have two elements, 0 and 1 with it. Now similar to that, when we take n equal to 2, then j less than or equal to 0 less than or equal to j less than or equal to 2. So range will be from 0, 1, 2. We have three elements in the set. Similarly, for the last, when we take n equal to 3, then the range for the inner set will be 0 less than or equal to j less than or equal to 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3. That is how we are getting the elements of the inner set. So I hope you can understand this example. It is somewhat difficult in the first attempt, but I think you can understand this flow, right? That we have two sets and nested sets, and the elements of the inner set depends on the outer set value. Okay, any query in this? Is this last example clear? Right. So whatever example we are taking, they are sample exercises from the book, right? Which is very crucial to understand. And based on this, you can also attempt the other exercises. So here we are taking this exercise as 1.1, as I told. This we have covered as exercise 1.1 only so far. Right, exercise 1.1. So in which I have covered A, then I have covered B, then C, but I have not covered D. So you have to try out D by yourself. E is already covered. F and others you have to try by your own. So whatever exercise number we are discussing, if you do that, it is sufficient for your college examination, and also it will be helpful to you in the GATE examination. So the exercises are selected in such a way, it will help you in the GATE as well as in the college examination. Okay, now let us change the pattern of the exercise. We have another exercise as simplify the given expression. So the expression is defined in terms of a set difference, and we have to represent this expression in the form of the basic operations. So here you can see it is a minus a into minus b, right? The expression given is a minus b. So now I am writing it is equivalent to a minus, and I am using the equation for a minus b. So I will write a intersection b dash. I will write a intersection b dash. Now again we have a minus, so it is a set difference of a with a intersection b dash. So again I will use the same equation. So I will write a intersection. Now it is complement of a intersection b dash. Now it is complement of a intersection b dash. So again I will apply the De Morgan's laws of complement. So we'll get a intersection with a dash union b, because it is complement of a intersection b dash. So that will give us a dash union b as per the rules which we have seen previously. Now it is now a distributive law. Here we have intersection and union sign. We will write a intersection a dash, which is having a union with a intersection b. So that is how we are getting this. So now further if we proceed, we'll get a intersection a dash as 5, which is an empty set, union a intersection b. We are getting the answer as a intersection b. That is how we have simplified the given formula. We have simplified the given formula. So this is how you can solve the other exercises 1.3 from the book. Right? We are taking a different variety of exercises. Okay, so now again we have a new kind of exercise here with us. Here Cn is defined as a set of all real numbers less than n, right? Where n is the integer. It is a set of all real numbers less than n, and we'll define n from integer set, right? So Cn is the set of all real numbers less than n. So now the first question is, what will be the union of n is equal to 1 to 10 Cn, right? What will be the union of n is equal to 1 to 10 Cn? So now to understand this problem, we are representing the number line here. So you can see the number line here from minus r to plus r. 0 is in the middle. Now I am representing the C1 set. So what is C1? It will be the set of all real numbers less than 1. We'll consider n equal to 1. So set of all real numbers less than 1. So you can see with a green color. It is highlighted with green color. C1 part of the number line. And C1 is there. Similarly, I have highlighted a C2. C2 is the set of all real numbers less than 2. C2 is the set of all real numbers less than 2. Similarly, I have highlighted C3 for more clarity. That C3 is the set of all real numbers less than 3. So now when I take a union of this, because we know how to represent the union of a set, right? So n is equal to 1 to 10 Cn. So it is C1 union C2 union C3 union up to C10. So when you take a union of all these elements, the answer will be C10, union of all the sets, C1 union C2 union C3 up to union C10. You will get the answer as C10. It is a very interesting example. So if you have any query, you can ask me right now, because later on you hardly make an attempt to understand these things and you feel this slide is very complicated. If you have any query, you can ask in this example. Is it clear what we have discussed? Yes, our goal is we want to find the union of n is equal to 1 to 10 Cn set. It is union of 10 different sets. It is a union of 10 different sets. So there are 50 students in the class, but I am getting a response from very few. So is this clear? I hope you are attending the things, and because this is the whole subject, you feel that at some point of time things will change and we'll try make an attempt to understand it. But all the lectures will be like this. They are all analytical lectures. If you don't understand these problems, you cannot solve the new problems. As you can see here, that each and every problem is different from others. There is no repetition. We have never repeated a problem. All problems are different. They are solved in a different way. So you have to understand these techniques so that you can solve the new problems. Right? Otherwise, all the 40 lectures will be like this. Right? You have to understand new problems, and we'll discuss how we are solving it, so you can solve other problems. Okay, let us proceed further. Okay, similar to that, if we have Cn, where n is equal to 1 to 10, intersection of all the elements. C is equal to Cn. It is the intersection of 1 to 10. So now again, if I look at this picture, you can see clearly that intersection of C1 set with C2 set with C3 up to C10. If you take the intersection of all the sets C1 to C10, that intersection will give you The answer is C1. It will give you the answer as C1. I hope it is clear to all, right? So just you have to prepare this diagram. So once you prepare this diagram, you will easily recognize that C1 is the smallest set as compared with other sets for the definition of Cn. Now, another definition is for the Dn set. So what is Dn? Dn is nothing but a set of all real numbers less than 1 upon n. The Dn is nothing but a set of all real numbers less than 1 upon n. So if you consider the Dn, we have a diagram which is different than this, right? We have to consider a different diagram. So here I have represent the diagram for set D. Again we have a real number line, minus r, 2 plus r, 0 in the middle. Now I am representing the D1, the set of real numbers less than 1, because it is 1 upon n, right? So you can see D1 is the set of real numbers less than 1 upon n, so it is up to 1. Now similarly I am representing D2. So D2 is the set of all real numbers less than 1 upon 2. This set of all real numbers less than 1 upon 2. So it will be 0.5. So you can see here a D2 with a different color. All the real numbers up to 0.5, 0.5 will be there. And we have a D3, the set of real numbers less than 1 upon 3. So when I consider this set of real numbers less than 1 upon 3, it will be 0.33. So you can see with a third different color line, D3 set, which is highlighting 0.33, right? It is highlighting 0.33 in the number line. So you can see clearly D1, D2 and D3. It is showing D1, D2 and D3. So you can see the difference, that both problems look similar. Both these problems looks similar, that C and D, but the answers are different because the D is a different set, right? The function D, we can say, which is defined, is different than the set Cn function. So according to that, both are solved using a number line, but the answers are totally different. So according to the definition, your number line will change, its representation will change, and you will get a different answer. So here you can see n is equal to 1 to 10 when I am doing a union of 1 to 10 for the Dn set. So it will be D1 union D2 union D3 up to union D10. It is from D1 union D2 D3 up to D10. So union of all these sets will be the D1 set. It will be the D1 set. The reason for it is that because here in case of D, the D1 is the largest set. Here in case of D, Dn, the D1 is the largest set. All other sets are subset of it. They are part of D1. So that's why we are considering the answer as D1. So now you can see the difference between the two. Here also union, here also it is a union for the set C. For Cn, n is equal to 1 to 10, we are getting the answer as C10, because C10 is the largest set. Union is giving the largest set. So C10 will be the answer. Now in case of Dn, right? In case of Dn, n is equal to 1 to 10, Dn, it will be D1, because D1 is the largest set. So that is how the answer will totally change based on the definition. Okay, any query up to this? Yes, do you have any query up to this? Yes, if you have a query, you can raise it, right? You can write in the chat window, because once you do this thing, then I will come to know that you understood the thing or not. Also here I am sharing the invite link for the class, right? Those who have not joined using a class code, they can also use this link to join the classroom, and you will get all the necessary materials, each and every lecture which we are covering. Okay, any query in this example? Let us come to the example again. Yes, are you listening? Yes, are you getting these things? Yes or no? Okay, so let us proceed further. Okay, so we have more interesting examples here. N is equal to 1 to 10 dn. So can you give the reason for this? N is equal to 1 to 10 dn. Why it is d10? Why it is d10? N is equal to 1 to 10 intersection of it dn, which is giving us d10, the first one. Yes, can you give the answer in the chat window why it is d10? Yes, it is the smallest set among the others. D10, it is 1 upon 10, so that is 0.1. All the numbers less than 0.1, right? So that is what we have to consider. Okay, so now for the second one, n is equal to 1 to infinitive Cn. N is equal to 1 to infinitive Cn. Why it is R? Now it is about the set Cn. If you can give the reason why it is R. Cn is an increasing set, so it will contain all the numbers. Yes, for n is equal to infinite, it covers whole R. Yes, so that is the correct reason. Okay, now the third one, also we have third one. Union n is equal to 1 to infinite dn. N is equal to 1 to infinite union of dn, which is giving us d1. Which is giving us d1. So what is the reason behind it? That's what is the reason behind it. D1 contains all the others as it is the largest one. Okay, D1 is the set which is the largest one. That's why we are getting that right. Okay, that's true. Okay, so let us go to the next slide. Okay, let us see what is in the next slide. Yes. So now here we have what is the relationship between 2 raised to A union B and 2 raised to A union 2 raised to B. Yes, if anyone can give the answer with a simple example. Here I have taken a very simple example. A is 1, B is 2. What is the relationship between 2 raised to A union B and 2 raised to A union 2 raised to B? You can see all these examples are different examples, right? They are all different examples. Yes, if you can tell. 2 raised to 2 raised to A union B. So let us see what is the answer. So you can understand, right? Most of you solved it correctly. So let us see the complete answer. Very simple example I have taken to understand the process. A is 1, B is 2. A union B is taken as 1, comma 2 because it is union of two sets. Now 2 raised to A, which is a power set, so it includes empty set and 1, all the subset of the set A. 2 raised to B, which includes again empty set and 2, so which is again all the subset of set B. So now when you take 2 raised to A union 2 raised to B, it will give 3 elements. It will give you 3 elements, 5, 1 and 2. It will give only 3 elements, 5, 1 and 2. 2 raised to A union 2 raised to B, because 5 is the common element. And when you consider this 2 raised to A union B, so 2 raised to A union B includes 4 elements in it, that is 5, 1, 2 and 1, comma 2. So it is 5, 1, 2 and 1, comma 2. So basically what it tells, that we have a 2 raised to A union B, 2 raised to B is a proper subset of 2 raised to A union B. It is a proper subset. Why? Because all the elements of 2 raised to A union 2 raised to B is a part of 2 raised to A union B. So 2 raised to A union 2 raised to B, it is nothing but a proper subset of 2 raised to A union B. So this is all about the set theory. I hope you understood what is the set theory, and we have solved various exercises of the book for more clarity, right? Okay, now let me go through your attendance part, which is also necessary. So we have 47, 2, 4, 18, 22, 28, 46, 49, 50, 51, 53, 57, 58, 59, 60, 68, 73, 76, 85, 86, 88, 103, 107, 110, 113, 116. So there are two numbers, 116, Harsh Patel, Jeet Patel. You have not used the correct ID numbers. C116, Harsh Patel is also there. C116, Jeet Patel is also there.
Sorry for the interruption, sir, but my current, that is for the sixth semester, my roll number is 116.
Okay, so I think Jeet needs to check his roll number. Yes, C116, Jeet. Can you hear me? You need to update your roll number as per the current semester.
Yes, sir. I forgot to change my roll number to 119. My current roll number is 119.
Okay, so next time be careful, right? When
Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, sir.
there will not be attendance issue.
Yes, sir.
118 Harsh Kumar, 124 Lal Patel, 126 Meet, 127 Yash, 130 Nisarg, 135 Pranav, 139 Ansh, 143, then 145, 161, 163, 167, 169, and 179. Okay, so thank you all. We'll stop the session here. You try exercises of the book which we have covered, and next time we'll see another concept of mathematics which is related to our subject. Thank you all. Classroom. Don't forget to join the classroom. Join the classroom so that you will get the material of the subject.